Chapter 81, A Puppet with Fighting Skills. Yao Lao was so shocked that he took off. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With many experiences in making puppets, Xiao Yan can control the flames in his hands to a rather exquisite level. Black and white flames flickered and danced, distorting and blurring the surrounding air. Each material was thrown into the flames. Xiao Yan's eyes were focused, and he grasped every detail just right. The materials Xiao Yan calcined were all kinds of strange, including ores, metals, and even some rare crystals. Each material represented different characteristics. As the materials were put in one after another, Xiao Yan's movements became faster and faster, and his hands were like picking leaves through flowers. This is the first time Xiao Yan has made a puppet of this level, and the materials used are all treasures accumulated in the past half-year. But when it comes to calcining each type of material, Xiao Yan, who has incredible understanding, seems to be as familiar with it as if he had practiced it thousands of times. Xiao Yan stood on the spot like a wooden stake, as if he was establishing a mysterious connection between himself, the flame and the material. About half an hour later, the materials thrown into the flames quickly fused together. They rolled and melted in the flames, and then were condensed by Xiao Yan into a black puppet. This puppet is burly and looks more and more like a human being, as if it is really alive. Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that his efforts were not in vain. In a matter of seconds, the 5th-level Earth attribute magic core in the brocade box on the stone table was embedded into the puppet's chest. With a buzzing sound, under the calcination of the flames, the earth-yellow energy of the magic core was slowly released, like blood, flowing all over the puppet's body, and the surface was covered with some inexplicable luster. The refining of the body has been perfected. Xiao Yan raised his hand and burst the jade bottle on the table, revealing the weak soul of the soul in it. Boy, what do you want to do to me again? The soul envoy said in horror. The flame was so tight that if it burned a few more times, he would probably be burned alive. My puppet lacks intelligence, so I can use your soul to make it work. Xiao Yan said with a smile on his face. The soul envoy only felt creepy. In the past, he only did some soul-obsessing jobs, but he didn't expect to encounter a more ruthless one today. With a stern look at the struggling soul, Xiao Yan saw flames surge from his hand, and finally wrapped it up directly. The screams and vicious curses suddenly resounded again. Xiao Yan acted as if he had not heard the vicious curse and increased the temperature of the flames. In just 1 or 2 breaths, a subtle sound came from the black mist, and the wisdom hidden in the soul also disappeared in this moment. After refining the soul envoy's mind, Xiao Yan gently threw it, and the black mist suddenly turned into a black air dragon, which penetrated into the pinhole-sized hole in the puppet's forehead like lightning. As this mindless soul submerged, the puppet's closed eyes suddenly opened, and the pupils were filled with darkness. As the soul submerged, a majestic aura without any emotion slowly emitted from the puppet. Yao Lao glanced at the puppet, smiled faintly and said, "The 5-star fighting king's puppet is not bad at all. More than that." Xiao Yan smiled slightly, took a step back, and then quickly formed a strange seal in his hand, and a slightly weird shout came from his mouth. As the shout came out, the puppet's body suddenly trembled, and he rushed forward with his iron fist straight into Xiao Yan's chest. Baji collapse. Seeing the puppet starting moves, Yao Lao was horrified. Generally speaking, the combat effectiveness of a puppet mostly depends on the materials used when it is forged. This is the first time he has seen such a puppet that can perform fighting skills. The void is destroyed. Faced with the puppet's punch, Xiao Yan did not dodge or dodge, standing with his legs in a 2-word clamp, and all the force he received was released to the ground. Several muffled sounds of bang-bangs suddenly came from Xiao Yan's body. When Xiao Yan released his strength, the stone slab he was standing on suddenly shattered. Engine. Yao Lao was so shocked that he flapped his wings and flew up. Being able to use fighting skills is extremely rare, but I didn't expect that this puppet could even use Engine. Baji Bang's fighting skill is at the advanced level of Xian level. It is a close attack fighting skill and is famous for its powerful attack power. After practicing to a great extent, the attack contains 8 layers of hidden power, and the 8 layers are combined, and the power is comparable to the low-level fighting skills of the Earth level. Ordinary people can master the basic Baji Bang after practicing for 1 or 2 years. Generally, geniuses will master it faster and can master it in more than a month. but this secret power is extremely difficult to master. Even an ordinary genius would have to practice it for a year and a half. It was really unbelievable for him to recreate it on a puppet like this. The void destroys the force and is not invincible. It takes an interval to recover from the force. Although Xiao Yan's cultivation level is quite deep and the time between recuperation is extremely short, it is still difficult to resist the 8 levels of dark energy coming like a tide. Xiao Yan drew a circle with one hand, and the void suddenly turned around. Using his strength to guide him, he struck the ground with a palm. With a bang, the solid floor quickly cracked, and then turned into extremely small fragments. In the end, the fragments were directly shaken into fine powder, and smoke and dust were everywhere for a while. What a puppet! Yao Lao applauded. In a battle, if the strength is equal, the final victory or defeat will be determined by the power of the fighting skills. If there is such an extra puppet that uses fighting skills, it will be easy to defeat the opponent. He and Xiao Yan are both masters who are not short of fighting skills. It is not difficult to match this puppet with earth-level fighting skills. Xiao Yan waved his sleeves to disperse the smoke and dust around him, looked at the excited Yao Lao, and shook his head slightly. Baji Bang is a close attack fighting skill. It is very suitable for a puppet with a strong body, so it can be mastered. If it were another type, I'm afraid it wouldn't be possible. Only then did Yao Lao realize that the restrictions were so great. If he can only master close combat skills, even if he has a lot of fighting skills, the number he can use will be much smaller. If you were to pick out the best fighting skills among them, it would be even harder to find fighting skills comparable to Baji Bang. However, Xiao Yan's Baji Sky Cannon derived from Baji Bang is also powerful enough to be comparable to low-level fighting skills of the earth level. If used on a puppet, it is also a good fighting skill. Yao Lao is the best in the mainland in refining medicine, but he knows very little about puppets. He can only speak from his own experience. Puppets mostly rely on their own materials. The Jiama Empire is located in a remote area. I'm afraid this Do Wang level is the limit. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, agreeing very much with this. Yao Lao knew that his disciple had a strong opinion, so he said no more, fluttered his wings and flew into the night sky, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Not long after Yao Lao left, Ye Fei came over and said angrily, "It's just a little more preparation, why are you tearing down my yard?" Hearing this charming and intoxicating voice, Xiao Yan raised his head and said, "I made some random gadgets to test its power. It's just the right time for me to come here and have a look." Chapter 82 Advanced Puppet Making Method. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ye Fei walked forward with gentle steps, her soft waist swaying like a willow, twisting so much that people could not help but feel that it would break in the next moment. Seeing the Iron Man beside Xiao Yan, Ye Fei asked curiously, "What is this?" Xiao Yan smiled slightly. "You can force out a drop of blood that contains some soul marks, put it on its forehead, and you will know." Although Ye Fei didn't know why, she still did it. The slender jade hand slowly stretched out, and with a sudden movement, a drop of blood containing some soul marks slowly flew out, and finally landed accurately on the puppet's forehead. The blood slowly invaded and finally turned into a dark red blood spot the size of a thumb. As this drop of blood entered the puppet's brain without any hindrance, and left an indelible imprint there, a little bit of life slowly appeared in the puppet's empty black eyes. The puppet twisted its still somewhat stiff neck, turned its head to look at Ye Fei, knelt on one knee, and slowly lowered its head in the direction of Ye Fei. A flash of light flashed across Ye Fei's eyes, and she could clearly feel that her soul seemed to be split into two, with one part controlling herself and the other part controlling the puppet in front of her. The puppet in front of her will obey any order she gives. A puppet at the level of Do Wang. Ye Fei looked at Xiao Yan in shock. The head of the Mitre family is only at the level of Do Wang. Most of the top 10 strong men in the Gemma Empire are also at Do Wang level. The value of this puppet cannot be measured in terms of money. Xiao Yan raised his hand. "This time I came in time, but it may not be the case next time. You can hold the puppet in your hands, and you will be safer. Do you know that Soul Palace? Ye Fei is not a fool." From Xiao Yan's words, you can hear the fear in it. The Soul Palace is so powerful. Ye Fei paused and said in deep thought, "It's actually hard for even the strongest Do Wang masters to be absolutely sure. I've been busy for a long time and I'm very hungry. What did you make to eat?" Xiao Yan smiled and walked into the house without saying much about the Soul Palace. With her finger tapping the ring, Yafei put away the puppet and quickly caught up with Xiao Yan. You eat something first. I just want to take a shower. We can talk about it later. Yafei glanced at Xiao Yan charmingly, slowly took off her cheongsam with her beautiful hands, kicked off her high heels, and walked towards the bathroom with her bare feet, goblin. Looking at Yafei's graceful back, Xiao Yan felt really hot in his heart, but he was really hungry, and his eyes quickly moved to the food on the table, and he started eating like a storm. After the meal, Xiao Yan took a sip of tea and thought about puppet making, relying purely on natural materials to create a puppet body, with the resources that the Gamma Empire region can provide. It has reached its limit to reach the level of Dou Wan. If you want to create a more advanced puppet, the simplest solution is to use the corpse of a Douzong strongman. Having accumulated a lot of experience in puppet making, Xiao Yan pondered for a moment and had a relatively clear plan in mind. Another moment passed. You deduce the intermediate puppet making method, and you have an epiphany. You understand the advanced puppet making method. Advanced puppet creation method, using the corpse of a Douzong expert or above as the body, and combining it with many materials such as soul body, magic core, etc., to create a powerful puppet. The corners of Xiao Yan's mouth raised slightly. Even the most basic high-level puppet can have Douzong level strength. Douzong level strength, even if you are new to Zhongzhou, can be used for a long time. It's just that this material is a little hard to find. After arriving in the Azumo Empire, not only do you have to search for resources, but you also have to use your brain. Why are you in a daze? One moment you are frowning, and the next moment you are giggling. Xiao Yan followed this string of heartrending laughter and looked up. On the couch not far away, Yafei, who had finished bathing, was lying on her side wearing a tulle dress. Her temples were lightly untied, and Yafei's black hair was spread loosely. She wore a purple-black tube top on her upper body, and a black long skirt on her lower body with extremely high slits, revealing her long and beautiful legs as white as jade. A pair of jade feet are crystal clear, like the finest jade, and each toe is delicate and slender. Xiao Yan's heart moved. The fallen heart flame in the strange fire can be used as a heart fire to burn fighting energy, and this fallen heart flame also contains some kind of evil fire that can arouse people's desires. As the saying goes, one is burned by fire. If a fairy like Yafei helps, I wonder if another strange fire can be created. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan got up and walked over. At this time, Yafei also sat up straight, crossed her legs, held her chin in her hand, and with a flick of her hand, a ray of red light fell in front of Xiao Yan. With a boom, the surrounding area suddenly burned up in Xiao Yan's sight, forming a huge circular wall of fire. The blazing high temperature made the air trance, the corners of his mouth curved, and Xiao Yan walked straight through the wall of fire. For ordinary people, this amount of illusion is enough to make people die in the sea of fire, but for me, it's too much. Sitting next to Yafei, Xiao Yan gently hugged the soft willow waist. I really don't know how you practice. Yafei pursed her lips, her shoulders swayed slightly, and she felt quite depressed. I originally thought that I could catch up with Xiao Yan a little bit by practicing this magical holy demon soul burning technique. Unexpectedly, the gap between the two is still huge. In fact, holy demon soul burning technique was actually created by Xiao Yan and was not the collection of teacher Xiao Yan as Yafei thought. Although Xiao Yan was distracted a lot by practicing Dou Qi, body training, soul power and many other categories at the same time, his soul aptitude was outstanding and he practiced very early, so it was not something that Yafei could easily catch up with. Xiao Yan smiled slightly and said, in the past, I taught you how to practice. Today, I want you to help me practice. Me? Yafei raised her finger and pointed at herself. I was taught by you. How can I help you? Xiao Yan came close to Yafei's ear and whispered. The more Yafei listened, the more her face turned red. Are you trying to bluff me? How can you be so practicing? Why did I lie to you? If you didn't help me, I would have come directly. Xiao Yan stretched out his hand and grabbed a ball. No, this is a new one I bought. You are so messy every time, don't break it for me. Yafei patted the bad hand off and stood up, with green-white fingers gently tapping on the bridge of Xiao Yan's tall nose. Yafei smiled seductively. I will believe you just once. Xiao Yan nodded, his dark eyes widened a bit, and he looked at Ye Fei intently, taking a few steps back. Ye Fei's curvy figure danced gracefully, her eyes were blurred, and every turn she made was full of seductive charm. The dancing steps are light, like a fairy who has been practicing for many years, making people feel like they are in a world full of temptations. Chapter 83 The Return of the Little Medical Fairy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 poles high in the sun, the sea of clouds is billowing on the top of the mountain, and the mountains are looming among them, like a fairyland. Xiao Yan slowly opened his eyes, looked at the rugged mountains shrouded in mist across from the back mountain of the Xiao family, and exhaled a breath of turbid air. You didn't go home last night, and now you've come back so late, and you're still here in a daze. Ye Fei's little girl can't run away. Yao Lao said, looking at Xiao Yan who had been in a daze for a long time. Xiao Yan smiled helplessly. That was not what he was thinking about. Last night, when Ye Fei's graceful body dances, it really makes people angry, but if you want to achieve the level of inner fire, the difference is a bit too much. He and Ye Fei tried it one night, and the fire started burning, but there was no trace of the effect of fallen heart flame and heart fire. Xiao Yan raised his hand and touched his nose. Could it be that he is too familiar and not charming enough? At this moment, a loud eagle cry sounded from the sky, followed by a bright blue light and shadow that cut through the clouds and appeared in Xiao Yan's sight. It's Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan stood up excitedly. Now is not the time to deliver the healing medicine to the elder brother. It seems that the little medical fairy has condensed the cyclone of fighting. Yao Lao was a little surprised. Before the poisonous body was activated, the qualifications of the little medical fairy were only mediocre. To be able to break through and become a fighter so quickly, Xiao Yan's understanding of the cultivation of fighting spirit has truly reached its peak. The blue eagle circled in the sky, and a bamboo tube dropped down. Xiao Yan raised his hand to catch the bamboo tube and poured out the letter inside. After reading the letter, Xiao Yan realized that the little medical fairy had indeed condensed the cyclone of Dou Qi, and now he had returned to the small valley. At this time, the blue eagle had fallen from the sky and was hovering on the edge of the cliff. Xiao Yan groaned and stepped on the eagle's back. Now that everything in the Gama Empire is developing in an orderly manner, it is time to prepare to go to the Izumo Empire. Moreover, the condensation of nether poison fire is much more reliable than the fallen heart flame, so pick the reliable one first. When Xiao Yan came to the top of the valley, the little medical fairy had a light green cloth tied on her head, like a beautiful little village girl, carrying a flower basket to collect medicine. Looking at Xiao Yan on Lan Ying's back, the little medical fairy smiled sweetly at him. He was able to condense the Dou Qi cyclone so quickly, thanks to Xiao Yan's training. After Lan Ying landed at a height, Xiao Yan jumped to the ground. I just came back here from Stone Desert City, why don't you have a good rest? Jade hands tidied the hair in front of her forehead, and the little medical fairy smiled and said, although the Modi mercenary group has everything, when it comes to the quality of medicinal materials, the ones from this small valley are better. You're here so soon, so you probably haven't eaten yet. I made some food and am about to eat it. Let's get together. Carrying the flower basket, the little medical fairy walked quickly to the earthen stove nearby. After working at Ye Fei's place for most of the night, the key point was that he had not yet developed his skills. How could Xiao Yan think about eating? After being told this by the little medical fairy, he was really hungry. The little medical fairy looked at the tumbling pot, stretched out her jade hand to take the small bowl from the side, then filled a bowl of mushroom chicken and carefully handed it to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan was not afraid of being burned, so he took it with a smile, sat on a stone and started eating. After eating several bowls in a row, Xiao Yan put the bowl beside him with some unfinished thoughts, and said with a smile, good craftsmanship, whoever marries you will be really lucky. Coming here, Xiao Yan has already adapted to the life of a young master since he was a child. He is extremely proficient in cultivation matters, but these daily small things are not as good as before. Marry me. Hearing Xiao Yan's words, the little medical fairy's cheeks turned red. The mercenaries of the Modi mercenary group all thought she was Xiao Yan's little wife, and even Xiao Yan's 2 brothers treated her as a younger sibling. Ever since Xiao Yan helped him warm and nourish his meridians, the little medical fairy felt the same way. He looked at Xiao Yan angrily and said, you're just a fool, Seeing that the little medical fairy had almost eaten, Xiao Yan said, "You have condensed the cyclone of fighting, and you only need to practice your skills to become a real fighter. Let me see your physical condition. The choice of exercises needs to be based on personal attributes, and you can see the clues with a little testing." The little medical fairy didn't know why Xiao Yan made her come all the way back from Stone Desert City, but she still followed the instructions and extended her bright hand, placing it on the gentle skin of the little medical fairy. Xiao Yan concentrated on exploring it. After his training, the meridians of the little medical immortal became stronger and stronger than those of people of the same level. With this physical quality, if he practiced the exclusive skills for the poison body that he envisioned, his advancement speed would be astonishing. Looking at Xiao Yan's delicate face, there was a hint of maturity and sophistication that was not commensurate with his age between his brows, which made the little medical fairy slightly in a trance. Although Brother Xiao Ding said that Xiao Yan had been engaged since he was a child, the little medical fairy didn't take it to heart. Originally, in Black Rock City, the talent of being able to pass the second-grade alchemist test at the age of 19 already shocked her beyond measure. Later, after living in the Modi mercenary group for a long time, she learned from Xiao Yan's two brothers that Xiao Yan was only about 12 years old now. This is still a superficial talent. Taking into account Xiao Yan's true ability, even the top alchemist of the Gama Empire, Dan Wang Furukawa, is far behind. For such a person, a few more concubines are nothing. Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at the little medical fairy. Have a short rest for half a day, in the evening. Halfway through his words, a series of eagle cries came from the sky. Xiao Lan. The little medical fairy stood up in a hurry. What's going on? Xiao Yan asked. This Lanning was really heartless. It was his good medicine that cured his injury, but he still got close to the little medical fairy. The little fairy doctor said, Xiao Lan found an abandoned cave on the edge of the cliff, but there was a monster guarding it, and it couldn't defeat it. I have always heard about the adventure opportunities related to cliff caves. Could it be that we have encountered them? The young Dr. Xian Dai raised her eyebrows and said happily, is it that mysterious cave? Xiao Yan said, we can only talk about the martial arts later. Let's go take a look. The little medical fairy took out a short bamboo flute from her arms, put it in her small mouth and blew gently. A strange sound wave came from the flute, and the blue eagle quickly lowered its altitude, holding the little medical fairy's uncontrollable slender waist. Xiao Yan suddenly stepped on the ground with his feet and rushed into the air like a cannonball. The impact was extremely powerful, but when it landed on the eagle's back, it was extremely light. After getting a helper, the blue eagle screamed excitedly, and the flapping force of its wings increased a bit, like a bolt of lightning piercing the sky, heading straight for the place where it suffered a loss. Xiao Yan stood facing the wind, and the cool air blew in. And the little depression about the failure to make the fallen heart flame last night was swept away. The remaining picture of the pure lotus demon fire contains a great help in obtaining the pure lotus demon fire. Chapter 84 Treasure Hunting in the Cave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lanning was extremely fast, and in just a moment, he brought Xiao Yan and the little fairy doctor to the place where the incident occurred. Looking at the hidden cave entrance covered by trees and gravel below, the little medical fairy smiled. There really is a cave. Look at the many marks like carvings around the entrance of the cave. It is indeed a long time ago. Maybe there are skills left by the predecessors. Looking around, the little Dr. Xian Dai frowned slightly and said, I just didn't see the monster. Could it be that it ran away? But at this moment, the blue eagle suddenly woke up and screamed. The originally smooth cliff suddenly protruded from something, flying out like a falcon at an extremely fast speed. It's a rock snake. The smile on the little doctor's pretty face disappeared immediately. Rock snakes are snake-like monsters that live in rock walls. Most of them are around the first level. This kind of magical beast can soar in the air like a falcon due to its body being as flat as wings, and because this monster's attribute is a mutated stone attribute, its body is as hard as stone, and it is difficult for ordinary swords to cause much damage to it. Such a sudden attack is extremely difficult to deal with. No wonder the blue eagle will suffer. Seeking death. Xiao Yan shouted sharply. A flash of fierceness flashed in his eyes, and a blazing red light suddenly burst out from the surface of his body, as if a layer of fire was burning around him. turning into circles of giant bones. Immediately afterwards, red light flashed, and a thick arm stretched out from outside the giant skeleton that protected Xiao Yan's body, grabbing the rock snake that was coming straight at him. The blazing temperature in the palm of the hand was released, and the body of the rock snake turned into nothingness in an instant, leaving only an earth-yellow magic core, exuding a faint yellow luster. The little Dr. Fairy's black eyes were stunned, and the rock snake with an extremely hard body died like this? The flame god's thick arms swept across, and the piles of intertwined gravel and strange trees outside the cave were blown into the dark mountain stream. Going down. Holding the little medical fairy's soft and delicate body tightly, Xiao Yan put away the god of fire and landed outside the cave with the little medical fairy in his arms, without the cover of trees and gravel, with the faint moonlight. Xiao Yan and the little medical fairy finally saw the cave left by their predecessors up close. The entrance to the cave is not wide, only allowing 2 or 3 people to pass through. The cave is dark, but there is a faint light emanating from it, making it look quite mysterious. Xiao Yan took out 2 moon stones from the ring and handed one to the little medical fairy. Let's go in and take a look. Walking in the quiet and dark cave, with a faint chill lingering around him, the little medical fairy leaned as close to Xiao Yan as possible. The 2 soft little balls came together, which made Xiao Yan a little surprised. I didn't expect it to be so predictable. After walking in such a quiet atmosphere for more than 10 minutes, the 2 of them saw a stone door that exuded a faint yellow light. No way out. The little fairy doctor turned his head and looked at Xiao Yan. There should be an agency. Xiao Yan glanced at the little medical fairy who hugged his arm tightly, realizing that almost half of her body was now hanging on Xiao Yan. The little medical fairy let go of her arms with a blushing face and quickly took a step back. The powerful soul power swept across the stone gate, and Xiao Yan quickly discovered a protrusion on the stone gate. He raised his foot and kicked the bump, and a crunching sound slowly resounded in the cave, and the stone door gradually began to move upward. As the stone door moved upward, a faint light emitted from inside the stone door, driving away all the darkness nearby. Following Xiao Yan into the stone room, the small mountain of gold coins and the medicinal garden exuding a strong medicinal fragrance made the little Dr. Fairy's pretty face turn rich with joy. It really has the inheritance from the seniors. This thing must be worth at least 1 million gold coins in total. I have to reward Xiao Lan well after I get out. Yao Lao's voice sounded in Xiao Yan's heart at this moment. Little guy, you are extremely lucky. There is an ice spirit flame grass that Ye Fei has not been able to collect for many days. In this way, the materials for the blood lotus pill are finally gathered. Done. Xiao Yan also saw the alternating white and red medicinal plants in the medicine garden. The white branches are covered with dots of ice crystal-like objects, and the fiery red grass crown looks like a burning flame. This thing is somewhat similar to the teacher's bone spirit cold fire. Xiao Yan nodded slightly and looked at it seriously. Gu Ling Linghuo was Yao Lao's treasure. By the time he gave it to him, the day lily was already half cold. If it can be condensed early, it will naturally be a great good thing. After looking at it for a while, Xiao Yan took out many jade bottles and jade boxes from the ring with his fingers, and Xiao Yan handed the little medical fairy a jade medicine shovel. You dig out the medicinal materials, I will collect the gold coins and property, and look for the keys to the 3 stone boxes. The little medical fairy nodded. In the past 6 months, she had read a lot of medical books provided by Xiao Yan and knew all about these medicinal materials. Taking the small shovel, the little medical fairy carefully dug out the precious medicinal materials from the small medicine garden and put them into warm jade bottles and jade boxes. Before coming to Shaojin Mountain, facing such a large number of items, Xiao Yan concentrated on collecting them into the Neji. With so much property, 90% of the Yinergy space was filled. Fortunately, Xiao Yan usually consumes a lot of resources and wears a lot of Na rings on his hands. After loading up his belongings, Xiao Yan glanced around the stone room and quickly locked onto the skeleton on the stone chair. Walking to the withered bones, Xiao Yan picked up the 3 black keys. With a click, the skeletal arm suddenly broke. So crispy. How many years have you been dead? Xiao Yan bent down and picked up the withered bones on the ground, and looked down at the small scroll between the bones. Yao Lao exclaimed in surprise, why does this material look so familiar? Little guy, take it out and take a good look. Pulling out the paper from the bone seam, Xiao Yan slowly spread the paper. When he saw something vague like a lotus in the corner of the paper, his expression changed slightly. He leaned down again and carefully observed this mysterious lotus-like object. This lotus-shaped thing looks faintly yellowed and a little blurry, perhaps due to the passage of time, but its general outline can still be seen clearly. The lotus flower is black, and there seems to be a thin layer of black inflammation attached to the surface of the lotus flower. If you look seriously, the whole lotus flower actually gives people a vague feeling of monster. Is this, the pure lotus demon fire? He stared at this strange black lotus. After careful observation, Yao Lao suddenly murmured in surprise. Yao Lao said excitedly, quickly take out the 2 small fragments of the map that I got from Haibudong. If these 2 things are a map, then we can distribute them. Chapter 85 Fusion of Ziyun Wings and Enlightenment of Soul Fighting Skills, page 12. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 85 Fusion of Ziyun Wings and Enlightenment of Soul Fighting Skills. Tapping his fingers on the ring, Xiao Yan took out 2 small fragments of the picture and put them together. Yao Lao stared at the fragmented picture closely and said with great joy, it is indeed a fragmented picture about the pure lotus demon fire. You little guy's luck is really extraordinary. The pure lotus demon fire ranks 3rd on the list of strange fires. It has the special effect of purifying all things. As long as anything is touched by it, it will be purified into nothingness. The power is extremely terrifying. Xiao Yan chuckled. Wanting to obtain this pure lotus demonic fire was extremely difficult, and he had to have both a map and strength. With a map alone, it would be extremely difficult if you don't have enough strength, Yao Lao said with some regret. Back then I made a name for myself. I was so proud of my own strength that I originally planned to get one of the top 5 strange fires in order to be worthy of my status. Teacher, you really dare to think about it. Xiao Yan couldn't help but smile. The first-ranked Emperor Flame naturally does not exist, the second-ranked Void-Swallowing Flame is from the Soul Clan, the third-ranked Pure Lotus Demon Fire still controls Shao Qin, the Fighting Saint Strongman, the fourth-ranked Golden Emperor Fenchen the Flame belongs to the Ancient Tribe, the fifth creature's flame is in the hands of the Old Man Shuno, a 9th-grade Xiandan Master and a powerful Fighting Saint. As long as I find one, I guess. You can laugh if you want. Yao Lao shook his head helplessly. I have spent countless time and energy, not to mention the top 5, even the top 10 strange fires, and I have never been able to get it. In the end, I had to retreat and choose the 11th-ranked Bone Spirit Linghua. Xiao Yan nodded. It's better to be realistic. Even this Bone Spirit Linghua almost took you away. Looking back at the map again, Yao Lao muttered, on this residual map, there is an extremely huge soul power hidden. This soul power is extremely obscure. If it weren't for an alchemist with strong soul power like me, it would be extremely difficult for ordinary people to discover. These soul powers will not directly cause any harm to people, but if anyone plans to copy the route and lines of the map, then these soul powers will unknowingly erode their sanity and make them lose everything in the end. The map drawn is almost completely different from the original map. Xiao Yan looked at him sideways. There is something. He actually discovered the power left by Jinglian Demon Saint. Such a huge soul power, if it is just to prevent people from copying it, it seems to be a bit of a fuss. Yao Lao marveled, but he couldn't see what use this power could have. Xiao Yan said, perhaps when we collect all the maps in the future, the truth will become clear. Maybe. Yao Lao sighed, how precious is the strange fire, let alone the pure lotus demon fire, which is in the top 3 of the strange fire list, but I actually encountered 2 clues in a row in this small Jia Ma empire. It is really more annoying than others. What are you doing? I've finished digging out the medicine. The little medical fairy placed the medicine shovel on the table and panted. Xiao Yan smiled and said, I found a large piece of the broken picture I got in Haibudong here. Let's take a look. Walking to Xiao Yan's side, the little medical fairy lowered his head and looked at the residual picture on the table. He saw that the lines and textures came from the same vein, and it was indeed a picture. Thanks to Xiaolan, even if I have to practice for a while, it's worth it. Yao Lao couldn't help but sigh at Xiao Yan's luck. His childhood sweetheart came from such a family, and he also encountered the rare physique of the non-poison body. Now he has obtained 2 maps of the pure lotus demon fire. The key has been found, and we are just waiting to open the stone box. Xiao Yan took the remaining picture back into the ring. Then let's open it quickly. The little medical fairy picked a key and turned it to the stone table. Xiao Yan picked up the remaining 2 keys and came to the stone box at the end. The key was poked less than halfway, and Xiao Yan felt blocked. On the contrary, the little medical fairy was very lucky, and he was able to insert it into the dark keyhole in one go. Looking at the metal buckle that bounced back, the little medical fairy opened the stone box with joy on her face, stretched out her hand and took out a colorful, ancient scroll inside, and unfolded it casually to check it out. Normally a reader of medical skills, the little medical fairy read the book very quickly. With a glance, he could take in the information above at a glance. The poison body of disaster is a strange poisonous body that can quickly increase its strength by swallowing poison. The way to identify the evil poisonous body is, there is a small 7-colored hidden line in the lower abdomen. Under this line of small regular script, there is also a very detailed list of the damage caused by the poisonous body of disaster. The little medical fairy's expression suddenly changed. He raised his hand and touched his flat belly, and suddenly exclaimed at the thought. What's wrong? Xiao Yan, who was struggling to poke the rusty keyhole, put down what he was doing and paused for a moment. The owner of this stone room is good at everything, but the lock he chose is a little off. This is almost blocked by rust. The little medical fairy explained, it's a book specially prepared for poison. That since the Izumo Empire was a hostile country that was often at war with the Garma Empire, the poison masters of the Izumo Empire would often use all kinds of indiscriminate poisons, causing the deaths of Garma Empire soldiers to reach an extremely horrifying number. This method of making poison is not very honorable in the Jiama Empire. Poison also has its own uses. Xiao Yan took the scroll, looked at the 4 small words, 7-color poison sutra written on the side of the colorful scroll, and smiled slightly. As an 8th-grade alchemist, Yao Lao has a large collection of prescriptions, but when it comes to poisons, he is far behind. Poisons are mostly used to harm people. With Yao Lao's identity and strength, if he really wants to deal with someone, it is basically a matter of one sentence, and there is no need to use poison. Moreover, if the enemy really gives Yao Lao a headache, it will be difficult not only to poison him successfully, but also to have an effect. With this 7 colors poison sutra as the basis for deduction, stronger poisons will surely be produced in the future. For the little medical fairy who uses poison to enhance his strength, the value of the 7 colors poison sutra is almost equivalent to the general outline of a magical elixir. Waiting for further development, putting it into the ring, Xiao Yan handed the remaining key to the little medical fairy and asked him to open the stone box in the middle. Seeing that Xiao Yan didn't take it seriously, and thinking of the terrifying power of the evil poisonous body once it exploded, the little medical fairy sighed bitterly, took the key, and moved his body. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and exerted force on his hand. With such force, the key rubbed the rust of the keyhole and sank deep into the keyhole. The stone box made a clicking sound. Opening the stone box, Xiao Yan picked up the scroll inside. Crazy Lion's Roar, an advanced fighting skill at the Xian level. The one I have is better. It's a scroll of flying fighting skills. The little medical fairy handed Xiao Yan a black scroll. Xiao Yan took the scroll and nodded with a smile. For ordinary people, the flying fighting skill is a magical fighting skill that allows people to master the flying ability in advance. But the most precious reason for it is the superposition. Superposition. The little medical fairy looked at Xiao Yan doubtfully. Recently, she had also read some information about training, but she had never seen this statement before. Xiao Yan said slowly, the so-called superposition, as the name suggests, is to cover 2 things together. This is the case with flying fighting skills. If one's strength reaches the Do Wang level, one can superimpose 2 kinds of wings on top of each other. Together. Chapter 86, Soul Palace Nemesis, Plow Spirit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The wings on his back vibrated, and Xiao Yan floated in the air. His hands suddenly reached forward, and his 5 fingers formed the shape of eagle claws. Ha! Yao Lao originally thought that Xiao Yan was practicing some fighting skills, but he suddenly noticed a majestic soul power condensing into Xiao Yan's hands. Ancient alchemists can maximize the power of soul power, and even have fighting skills that are comparable to those of some strong men. This method was called soul skill by ancient alchemists, and soul skills were divided into two types, attack and cultivation. Unfortunately, most of these things have been lost. If Xiao Yan could comprehend soul skills, their value would be 10 times or 100 times greater than fighting skills. Recalling the process of confronting the soul of the black flame purple cloud eagle in the flying fighting skill, Xiao Yan waved his hands sharply. The power of the soul is invisible and formless, and most people can't see any clues about it. They may think that Xiao Yan is playing some trick, just showing off his tricks, but with Yao Lao's soul power, he could naturally sense that the strength condensed on Xiao Yan's fingers was extremely powerful, and it was by no means ordinary. The more Xiao Yan hit, the smoother he became. With his 5 fingers suddenly flexing and opening, 5 rays of energy suddenly shot into the ground. The 5 rays of energy penetrated more than 10 meters deep like rotten soil. The black hole was as smooth as a mirror, and no power leaked out. Being able to control the soul power so delicately, even Yao Lao was shocked. He could sense that Xiao Yan's soul skill was still very rough. If it were polished, its power would be at least at the advanced level of Xian level. This is an advanced Xian level soul skill, not the fighting skill spread on the mainland. Not only is it extremely rare, but its power is far beyond the Xian level advanced fighting skills. The wings on his back slowly retracted, and Xiao Yan once again sat cross-legged on the grass, closing his eyes and remembering. Based on your experience of fighting against the soul of the black flame purple cloud eagle, you have an epiphany. You understand the soul skill soul-eating black wind claw. Soul-eating Xianfeng claw, Xian level advanced soul skill, a powerful claw-type attack soul skill. The wind from the claw has the power to tear the soul. Once he had an epiphany, Xiao Yan's heart was like a bright light, and he suddenly woke up, his eyes suddenly opened, and the majestic soul power gushes out from between his eyebrows like a tide. Xiao Yan danced his hands, as sharp as an eagle's claws, and with a loud roar, 10 strong air currents made a whooshing sound like arrows leaving the string, and they all shot towards the shield protecting the body. This force was as unstoppable as a tiger descending a mountain, and 10 bright holes suddenly appeared in the shield set up by Yao Lao. What a good boy, you actually realized the soul skills. The machine bird that Yao Lao was living in slowly landed on the grass, and his soul floated out. Although he was escorting him, the shield he set up was not used with all his strength, but it was actually broken by Xiao Yan. The level of this soul skill is not low. Xiao Yan stood up slowly. Teacher, you haven't appeared in person for a long time. Could it be that you want to try the power of my soul skill? Just give it a try. Yao Lao really meant this. He had never seen this soul skill before, but he wanted to see the power of the soul skill that Xiao Yan had comprehended. Xiao Yan chuckled, stamped his feet on the ground, and rushed straight in front of Yao Lao like a tiger. As soon as he thought, his hands had gathered the majestic power of the soul, and his extremely sharp claws brought up after images. Seeing Xiao Yan's ferocious offensive, Yao Lao waved his arm, and a flash of white flame shot out. The flame rolled in mid-air, and suddenly condensed into a mirror of ice flames, shining with a forest-white light, like a protective shield. Xiao Yan's claws clawed rapidly, and cracks appeared in the hot and cold ice flame realm under the attack. Not bad. Yao Lao exclaimed in surprise, and with a push of his hand, just when the ice flame mirror was about to shatter, it once again turned into that forest-white flame and rushed straight towards Xiao Yan, who was attacking fiercely. Although the flame was only the size of a fist, it had overwhelming power, and Xiao Yan was immediately forced back more than 10 steps. What a sophisticated fire control method. Xiao Yan sighed secretly. Compared with Yao Lao, he was still a little behind in fire control. After a pause, the soul power in his body increased rapidly, and Xiao Yan shouted, soul-eating Xianfeng claw. As Xiao Yan shouted, he quickly released 5 rays of energy from his 5 fingers, sweeping up the bone spirit cold fire attached to his hand and shooting towards Yao Lao. Condensation. Yao Lao shouted, and the bone spirit cold fire attached to the soul attack suddenly burst out with the power of extreme cold. The forest white light flashed and instantly froze Xiao Yan's soul power. but Xiao Yan's soul fighting skills are extraordinary and extremely powerful. Even though the whole body turned into 5 ice spikes, the speed did not slow down. Yao Lao was also stunned when he saw it. This is really evil. His eyes narrowed slightly, and ice and fire switched at will. The temperature of the white ice suddenly rose sharply, and turned into 5 clusters of scorching flames. As soon as these 5 clusters of flames appeared, the temperature of the entire small valley seemed to begin to rise slightly, as if the air became hot. Under this blazing temperature, Xiao Yan's soul power was completely burned out almost in a breath. Yao Lao's palms suddenly closed, and the 5 clusters of flames instantly gathered into a forest-white palm, blasting out with majestic energy and rushing straight towards Xiao Yan. Sure enough, Xiao Yan knew that he would never be able to block this palm with his soul skills, and the Dou Jing in his body trembled suddenly. Majestic and pure energy was suddenly released, turning into Dou Qi and flowing into the meridians. The flames that merged with the black and yellow flames and the yin and yang flames were burning on his palms, and Xiao Yan raised his hand to block it. In an instant, an overwhelming force was released. Xiao Yan's legs immediately stood up in a 2-word clamp. Using void destruction to release the force, this time, Xiao Yan only took 2 steps back and then stopped. Yao Lao looked at it and nodded slightly. Xiao Yan's fighting skills are really exquisite. His palm is extremely difficult for ordinary fighting spirits to resist. Xiao Yan has just broken through to the great fighting master. At this moment, Yao Lao's eyes suddenly shrank. He actually swallowed my bone spirit cold fire with 2 fused different fires. Although his little bit of strange fire is of no benefit to Xiao Yan's cultivation, Xiao Yan's method really captures the essence of the burning technique and the fusion of strange fire. Scenes of light and shadow flashed through his mind, and an idea flashed in Xiao Yan's heart. You have observed Yao Lao's soul body for a long time and have a personal understanding of soul skills. You have an epiphany. You have understood the soul skill Plow Spirit. Plow Spirit, a secret soul skill, condenses the soul power into a sword. This sword has the effect of devouring the soul and strengthening itself. Knowing that there are many soul bodies in the Soul Palace, Xiao Yan has been studying the skills and secret methods for soul bodies since he saw Yao Lao's soul body appear. Chapter 87, 3-Way Poison Code, the exclusive training method for the poisonous body of disaster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 87, 3 Paths of Poison Code, exclusive cultivation techniques for the poison body of disaster. It's just that he had no idea about soul attacks in the past, and there was no previous experience for him to learn from. Now that I have suddenly realized the soul skill Soul Eating Black Wind Claw, some thoughts from the past suddenly came flooding back. Teacher, be careful next time. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Yao Lao laughed. You little guy, let me be careful, just practice for another 20 years. Even just a soul body is enough to control the Jiama Empire. Xiao Yan held his hand in the air, and the remaining half of the soul power between his eyebrows burst out continuously, condensed into dots of green light, gathered in Xiao Yan's hand, and gathered it with the secret method of Plow Spirit. Although the Plow Spirit blade has not yet taken shape, its soul-devouring power has already spread. What happened to this kid? His whole person is completely different. Yao Lao's eyes suddenly shrank, and Xiao Yan's aura did make him feel a hint of danger. If his soul power wasn't very powerful, I'm afraid the soul power in his body would be sucked away by it. It was the first time to condense the Plow Spirit blade, and besides having consumed half of his soul power before, it was not easy for Xiao Yan to use it. After 3 to 5 minutes, an ancient long sword appeared in Xiao Yan's hand. This sword has an ancient and unique shape. The sword is long and straight, revealing a deep green light, as if it has the call of an ancient soul. The blade of the sword is sharp and has a dark green color, but the sword bones are black and white, like stars in the dark night, adding a unique charm to this sword. With the strength of fighting spirit, Xiao Yan, who is only a great fighting master, is naturally unable to condense physical objects, but now Xiao Yan is using soul power. With Xiao Yan's intermediate soul power in the mortal realm, he is already an extraordinary existence among the entire group of alchemists. Be careful. Xiao Yan warned again, thrusting his sword directly at Yao Lao's face. Yao Lao only felt that the sword was weird. Before it hit him, he had a weird feeling of his soul being torn out. There is a huge gap between Xiao Yan's strength and his now. If the two of them were at the same level, I'm afraid he wouldn't be as calm and composed as he is now. With a grasp of his palm, Yao Lao used his backhand to condense the cold fire of the bone spirit into a giant forest white ruler, and swept it out like a rainbow, as if to cut off all obstacles. Xiao Yan holds the Plow spirit sword, his posture is as agile as the wind, and his sword moves are elegant and unpredictable, making it difficult for people to guard against him. The swords and rulers clashed, making a clanging sound. After exchanging more than a dozen moves, Yao Lao shouted in shock to stop. Seeing that everything was in pieces in his hand, only a stick-like weapon was left, and it seemed that it would collapse at any time. Yao Lao looked at the ancient sword in Xiao Yan's hand that was surrounded by white air in surprise. What is this? Originally, he thought that with the strength of his bone spirit cold fire, just 1 foot could break the small sword in Xiao Yan's hand into 2 pieces, but when it comes to fighting, it's not what he thought at all. Xiao Yan's sword was actually far sharper than his giant ruler, and it also carried an evil devouring power. No matter how much he used his soul power to repair it, he couldn't repair the damage quickly, and eventually fell completely into a disadvantage. Faced with Yao Lao's inquiry, Xiao Yan did not reply, but stood attentively and breathlessly. Yao Lao's soul power was really pure and majestic. If he wanted to absorb it, it would not be as smooth as the energy of heaven and earth. The Plow spirit sword is constantly transforming, and wisps of pure spiritual energy circulate according to the Purple Mansion Tianyan technique route, all returning to the center of the eyebrows. The soul power consumed before was not only restored rapidly, but also felt faintly improved. Just such a moment of effort is enough to equal Xiao Yan's accumulation of several days of practice. Having personally experienced this effect, even Xiao Yan, the creator of the Plow spirit secret technique, couldn't help but feel amazed. Teacher, stop looking. Xiao Yan shook the long sword in his hand. Yao Lao was startled by Xiao Yan's surprise and took a few steps back. The sword was also dancing randomly. This is not an ordinary sword, but a Plow spirit condensed with soul power. It has the miraculous effect of devouring souls and strengthening itself. Xiao Yan said with a slight smile. It turns out that it is used to deal with souls. The name, Plow spirit, is just right. Yao Lao sighed and nodded. This sword is really powerful. He had experienced it just now. Suddenly, Yao Lao felt something was wrong, and laughed and cursed. You bastard, your teacher and I are my soul body now. Xiao Yan casually dismissed the Plow spirit and spread his hands with a smile. Teacher's bone spirit cold fire power is terrifying. If I hadn't mastered 2 kinds of strange fires, most people would be useless even if they used the Plow spirit. Yao Lao felt a little relieved. No wonder he always felt that Xiao Yan's sword was a little weird. It turns out that not only is the long sword a special soul skill, but the blade of the sword, which is different from the dark green blade, actually contains a strange fire that combines black and yellow flames with yin and yang flames. Xiao Yan slowly sat back on the grass. Actually, this is all because the teacher's enemies are so powerful and so sinister. I, the Plow spirit, am their nemesis. No matter what the Soul Palace's purpose is for capturing soul bodies, if you encounter them again, you will use those ghostly things in their Soul Palace to practice your martial arts. As he said that, Xiao Yan looked deeply into the distance. While the Soul Palace has not yet used anyone who is too powerful, we should train the little medical immortal as soon as possible, who is awakened by the calamity and poisonous body, so that we can gain more strength in the future. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan with burning eyes. If he also mastered this magical soul skill, he might be able to go one step further in the future and break through to the soul of the Emperor realm. But Yao Lao changed his mind and frowned slightly. The power of this thing to devour people's souls is really evil. If he uses this soul skill, wouldn't it be no different from the guys in the Soul Palace? Xiao Yan waved his hand. There is no distinction between good and evil in martial arts and fighting skills. It depends on the practitioner. If you really want to do evil, you don't need to learn 2 advanced skills. Those golden fingers in Wutan City don't even know Kung Fu. If you don't want to do good, even if you give them heaven-level Kung Fu and fighting skills, and he can't do anything good. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan sitting cross-legged on the grass and remained silent. Thinking of treating the first disciple he accepted as his own, in the end, ignoring Yao Lao anymore, Xiao Yan recalled the information about the Innate poison body and created a technique for the little medical fairy to practice. Based on your understanding of the poisonous body of disaster, you have an epiphany, and you have understood the 3 paths of poison code. 3 paths of poison code. For those who have awakened from the disaster poison body, it is comparable to a heaven-level skill. For ordinary people, it is not only ordinary, but practicing it will be extremely painful and even life-threatening. Chapter 88 Sky Poison Holy Body. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 3 paths poison code is divided into 4 layers. The first layer is designed to absorb the powerful toxins to form a poisonous cocoon. The second layer continues to use the highly poisonous temperature to nourish the poisonous cocoon and cultivate the 3 paths goo worms. Goo worms serve as carriers to stabilize toxins throughout the body. The third layer uses toxins to nourish the worms, allowing them to emerge from their cocoons and turn into butterflies, achieving the ultimate level of poison power. After reaching the third level, not only did the defects of Ernan's poisonous body disappear, but it also made his own physique become a stronger one. But the fourth level is completely different from the first 3 levels. It is the opposite of the characteristics of the poisonous body. It is about using the poison-making body to derive continuous life energy. The poisonous insects it contains are no longer limited to a kind of 3-way goo. Saving people and killing people is just a matter of thought. After reaching the 4th level, the Innate poison body has undergone earth-shaking changes. It is no longer limited to absorbing poison and can absorb thousands of energies. After Xiao Yan understood the 3 ways of poison code, he read it again and felt that his 3 ways of poison code was not a complete technique. However, there is nothing surprising about this. The burning technique that Xiao Yan originally practiced was an extremely incomplete technique. Even after subsequent modifications, the core of the technique has not changed and it still requires the assistance of many different fires. What he learned during practice was such an incomplete technique, and naturally he was most familiar with this kind of cultivation method. Although it is not a deliberate pursuit, the practice of creation inevitably refers to the foundation of what I have learned. Different from burning Jew, the initial level of the 3 ways poison code is comparable to the heaven-level technique for those who have awakened the poisonous body of disaster, but if they want to reach a new peak, they need to cooperate with the practitioner's self-realization. Moreover, since each practitioner has different understandings and different opportunities, the effects of practicing this technique are also very different for different people. It's time to start condensing the nether poison fire. After taking a look at the gradually darkening sky, Xiao Yan slowly stood up and walked towards the depths of the valley. The nether poison fire can swallow poison and become more powerful. If it uses this as the foundation to swallow all things, it can condense the void-swallowing fire. Moreover, the extremely poisonous nether poison fire is completely opposite to the flame of life that contains rich vitality. If the yin and yang can be reversed, another kind of strange fire can be condensed. Although this nether poison fire is only ranked 20th on the list of strange fires, it is only at the bottom among the strange fires. The power of this strange fire condensed with fighting spirit was even weaker at the beginning. But using the nether poison fire as a starting point, 2 terrifying alien fires that rank in the top 5 on the alien fire list can be born. Under the stars, through the concerted efforts of more than a dozen monsters, a strange building appeared in the quiet valley. This building is arched, like a large upside-down bowl, and has a very different style from the residences in the human world. When Xiao Yan saw it for the first time, he was slightly startled. After a moment of silence, he said, "Although it looks a little strange, it is strong enough to protect it from wind and rain." Looking at the rows of monsters sitting neatly, Xiao Yan touched Xiao Hong's huge wolf head, took out the jade bottle from the ring, poured out a fiery red pill, and fed it to it. These pills are some gadgets that he usually researches, which can be regarded as snacks during his leisure time. The energy in it is so violent that ordinary people cannot take it, but for a physically powerful warcraft, it's just right. After swallowing the elixir, Xiao Hong felt a heat flow rapidly through her body. Feeling indescribably comfortable, after pouring out all the elixirs, Xiao Yan threw them with both hands, and the elixirs fell into the mouths of the monsters like a goddess scattering flowers. after paying these monsters, Xiao Yan waved his hand, let's all disperse. The energy of the world here is quite rich. It can also be regarded as a treasure land of feng shui, which is good for your cultivation. Although they didn't know what they were eating, they felt the energy in their bodies, and all the monsters knew it was good food, and ran towards the outskirts of the valley with satisfaction. Hearing the movement outside the house, the little medical fairy walked out of the house and saw that Xiao Yan was back. He looked at the scattered monsters and smiled slightly. These monsters look ferocious, but they are all clever and clever. That's because you didn't see them become ferocious. Thinking of what they looked like when he subdued them, Xiao Yan shook his head and walked into the house. Although this room was built by Warcraft, the interior layout gives people a warm and comfortable feeling. The wooden bed is covered with soft sheets and quilts, and hot meals are placed on a wooden table in the middle. It is simple but full of the flavor of life. The little fairy doctor blushed slightly and said, let's eat first and think about sleep later. This monster is good at everything, but it only built a bed. But this is fine, she is carrying the Innate poison body, and she usually comes into contact with medicinal herbs. Since the medicine is 3-part poison, she may have already activated the Innate poison body. It's just that the toxicity of those herbs is too low, and the Innate poison body has not shown its effect, but it may not be possible in the future. Between the sudden enlightenment of soul skills and the study of the little Dr. Xian Ernan's poisonous body, Xiao Yan was already hungry. Half of the bowl of rice was finished. Looking at the little medical fairy who was still standing, Xiao Yan said, why are you still standing? Come and eat soon. The little medical fairy sat down and sighed, it's great to be able to eat together like this. When I become a poison master, and maybe the most annoying one, there will be no chance. Drooping her black hair to cover her pretty face, the little medical fairy murmured, in the future, I hope you can still treat me as a friend. After finishing the rice in the bowl, Xiao Yan put down the bowl and chopsticks and shook his head slightly. You. The little Dr. Fairy bit her red lips lightly, thinking of that, you hate me now. Xiao Yan raised his hand to hold the soft and boneless jade hand of the little medical fairy, smiled slightly and said, how can I treat you as just a friend in the future? Why? The little medical fairy blinked in confusion. After thinking about it carefully, he vaguely understood what Xiao Yan was talking about. How can you be so bad at such a young age? The little medical fairy raised her hand to beat Xiao Yan with a red face, and rolled her eyes at Xiao Yan. Are most of the young masters in your big family like this? Holding the other hand of the little medical fairy, Xiao Yan pulled it into his arms and smiled calmly. It seems that you know your physique. You'd better eat this meal later. I'll teach you the skills first. You. Well, why do you feel that you already knew that I am a poisonous body of disaster? The little medical fairy asked as Xiao Yan pulled him towards the bed. Of course I knew it a long time ago, otherwise you think I would just pick up someone and provide so much precious foundation-building spiritual liquid? Ah. The little medical fairy looked at Xiao Yan in astonishment. Don't you know how terrifying the Ernan poison body is? Xiao Yan waved his hand. The Fighting Qi Continent is very big, and the information about the disaster poison body recorded in the 7-colored poison sutra is really nothing. The so-called calamity poison body is just a result of poor cultivation. If you practice it well, such as swallowing poison and other strange effects, you. Xiao Yan thought for a moment, you can call it the sky poison saint body. Chapter 89 9-Colored Poison Sutra. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 89 9-Color Poison Sutra. Swallowing poison, how can you be worthy of a holy word? The little fairy doctor shook his head slightly. The poison demon body is fine that day. Xiao Yan curled his lips, it was just a name code, there is really nothing to worry about such superficial things. Holding the little medical fairy's legs in his arms, Xiao Yan said hurriedly, hurry up and get ready to start practicing. I'll do it myself. The little medical fairy curled up her legs shyly and took off her shoes and socks, revealing a pair of crystal clear feet. The little medical fairy's pair of snowy feet are white and delicate, with long and graceful toes. They are so delicate that they seem to break with the slightest touch. They exude a unique charm that makes people unconsciously fascinated by them. Being stared at by Xiao Yan's burning eyes, the little medical fairy hid her jade feet behind her back with her face flushed red, and played with a strand of black hair and said, "What's the difference between the heavenly demon poison body and the annihilation poison body? It sounds like it's not a good thing. If you're not afraid that I'll poison you if I succeed in my cultivation, just teach me." Xiao Yan rushed towards the little medical fairy, almost touching the little medical fairy's cheek and said, "Poison me to death. Just practice for a few more decades." The little medical fairy raised his hand and pushed towards Xiao Yan, using all his strength, but Xiao Yan did not move at all. He sprayed Xiao Yan with hot breath. "Why are you so heavy? It's like a mountain. Your body is as flexible as water." Xiao Yan smiled slightly. The little medical fairy tilted her head to one side, not daring to look into Xiao Yan's deep eyes. After playing around for a while, Xiao Yan saw that the little medical fairy had put down his grudge against his own physique, and then Xiao Yan pulled the little medical fairy up. "Get ready to concentrate on absorbing the information." Raising her hand to straighten her black hair, the little medical fairy sat cross-legged with rosy cheeks. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and reached out to touch the little doctor's forehead. A stream of information poured into his mind, and it took a while for the little medical fairy to fully absorb it. After another long while, the little medical fairy had a rough understanding of the content, and her pretty face was full of shock. Can the evil poisonous body still be cultivated like this? Cultivate the poisonous fighting spirit into a goo insect. Start practicing. Only by practicing the techniques can you truly be considered a fighter and start the true path of cultivation. Xiao Yan took out the 7-colored poison sutra and began to study it. The little fairy doctor nodded slightly, put away the shock in his heart, formed seals with his hands, and ran the 3 paths of poison code to transform his fighting energy. After breaking through the Dou Qi, everyone has the qualifications to practice the skills. After practicing the skills, the milky white fighting energy without attributes in the body will be transformed into the attribute fighting energy of the skills. The first transformation of fighting spirit did not take too long, so 2.5 hours later, the little medical fairy who was sitting cross-legged slowly opened his eyes. After practicing the 3 ways of poison code, the little medical fairy felt an unprecedented emptiness in her body, a feeling of palpitations, and a very longing for. The little medical fairy raised her hand and pressed it on her heart. She had originally sworn not to touch poison, but now she actually wanted to feed on poison. This is a normal reaction. In the early stage of practicing the 3 paths of poison code, a large amount of poison is needed to accelerate the condensation of the poison cocoon. Xiao Yan tapped the ring with his finger, took out a jade bottle from it, and poured out a red-colored pills. Putting down the 7-color poison scripture in his hand, Xiao Yan looked at the little medical fairy. "Eat it and try the effect of the 3 paths of poison scripture." Alchemists also refine poison. Taking the round pill, the little medical fairy licked her lips and resisted the desire to swallow it in one gulp. Xiao Yan picked up the scroll of the 7-colored poison scripture and tapped the little medical fairy on the forehead. The alchemist can also refine the transformation pill that is only used by monsters. What if he actually refines poison? Xiao Yan put on his boots and got out of bed. "These are some poisons I refined when I was young. They should be just right for you." Touching his forehead, the little medical fairy stuffed the pill into her jade lips and muttered, "You sound like you are very old." After taking the violent poison, the little medical fairy's poisonous body was fully activated in an instant, and a burst of colorful colors burst out from the body. Under the flickering light, the little medical fairy closed her eyes tightly, and her pretty rosy face looked quite charming for a moment, which was in contrast to her usual ethereal beauty. Seeing the cultivation of Ernan's poison body with his own eyes, Yao Lao was surprised and said, "What a terrifying physique. The poison is enough to kill a great fighting master, but this little girl is fine at all. Teacher, you must not forget the skills I passed on to the little medical fairy." Xiao Yan put down the 7-color poison sutra in his hand and said with a smile, "If it weren't for my skills, this little girl would have fainted from the poison long ago. You're the only one who's great." Yao Lao paused and said slowly, "Enlightenment poison body uses poison to improve its cultivation. No matter how powerful the poison is, for those who have awakened from our non-poison body, it is nourishment for improving their strength. Digestion, it's just a matter of time before it falls off, and it doesn't actually require any skills. Our non-poison body is already extremely resistant to poison, and with the addition of my skills, it is even stronger. If you want to use the little medical immortal's non-poison body to condense the nether poison fire, you will need some top-quality poisons. Xiao Yan, he lowered his head and looked at the 7-colored poison sutra in his hand. Yao Lao sighed, there are countless prescriptions in my bone inflammation ring, but there is a lack of poisons. If I had known, I would have collected some poison prescriptions back then, otherwise you wouldn't have to look at this thing. No matter how powerful the prescription is, it can only be discovered by people. If you always want to pick up the ready-made medicine, sooner or later, you will have nothing to do. I am very lucky to have this book of 7 colors poison sutra as inspiration. Xiao Yan shook his head slightly. If there was a correct guide, and it didn't need to be too specific, it would let people know that origin Qi was needed to break through the Dou Emperor, and those people in the Xiao clan wouldn't have to die. The inheritance has been cut off and turned into what it is now. It is already extremely difficult to learn the current methods. How can we still achieve new enlightenment? Yao Lao rolled his eyes. You are smart, I want to see what new tricks you can come up with. This poison is completely opposite to the medicine refining you usually learn. Xiao Yan was reading the 7-colored poison sutra and said, Teacher, you may have forgotten that I didn't learn to refine medicine from you from the beginning. When I was 2 or 3 years old, I was already able to use Bai Chao with ease. Yao Lao suddenly remembered that when Xiao Yan was 3 years old, he used some rare medicinal materials in his own medicine store to refine the magic medicine that could directly restore his grandfather, the fighting king, to his original state after being seriously injured. It's a good thing you were born not too early or too late, otherwise I would have called you teacher. Yao Lao fluttered his wings and flew out of the room. Xiao Yan shook his head helplessly and read the 7 colors poison sutra carefully. After just reading it once, Xiao Yan already understood the contents. He had already understood the medicinal properties of the medicinal materials written in the 7-colored poison sutra, but he had not thought much about the poison. Now when I think about poisons, and with the 7-colored poison sutra as the basis, my true thoughts are like a spring. You deduced from the 7-color poison sutra, you have an epiphany, you understand the 9-color poison sutra. Chapter 90 Day 1 Poisonous Water. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 90 Tiani Poison Water. The 9-colored poison sutra is a poison-making secret manual improved on the basis of the 7-colored poison sutra. If there are enough materials, it is possible to create poisons that threaten the powerful Dou Zun. From the information given by Yao Lao, Xiao Yan mastered information about heaven, earth, treasures and medicinal materials that were beyond ordinary people's understanding, and he had already accumulated enough profound knowledge. Now I have systematically studied the 7 colors poison sutra, and with the blessing of my heaven-defying understanding, I can naturally understand the subtleties. When it comes to poison-making technology alone, it is unique in the world. Xiao Yan raised his hand and rubbed his eyebrows, thinking about hundreds of poison prescriptions at once. Even he felt a little tired. How is the little medical fairy's training going? Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at the little medical fairy on the bed. Under the bright moonstone, the pretty figure of the little medical fairy is still glowing with colorful halo. The 3 paths of poison code technique is running continuously absorbing the power of poisons in the body. The little medical fairy's physique belongs to the poisonous body of disaster, and she also practices the 3 ways of poison code, a strange and ancient technique that is astonishing to the present. With the combination of the 2, the power of the poison was transformed into colorful fighting energy in the little medical fairy's body, and because the fighting cyclone in her body has accumulated such special fighting energy, the overall color is also colorful, which is completely different from ordinary fighters. Xiao Yan's powerful soul power perception enveloped the little medical fairy, and he nodded slightly. Annan's poisonous body is indeed extremely strange. In a short period of time, the little medical fairy has been promoted to a 2-star fighter. I have to prepare some more powerful poison for her as soon as possible so that the little medical fairy can maintain her normal cultivation speed and still have enough energy to help me condense the poisonous fire of the netherworld. Xiao Yan slowly walked out of the door and came to the room. On an open space outside, if ordinary people heard Xiao Yan's low murmur, they would definitely scold Xiao Yan for being crazy and feeding poison to an ethereal girl like the little medical fairy, but the poisonous body of the little medical fairy is so evil that the poisonous things that others avoid are actually tonics for her to improve her cultivation. You came out so soon, do you have a headache? Yao Lao, who was lying on the boulder, said with a smile when he saw Xiao Yan going out to enjoy the breeze. Alchemists learn the orthodox way. It is difficult to learn all the prescriptions of the previous generations. You still want to make poison? That is a complete reversal of what has been learned, and its level of difficulty is almost equivalent to that of an accomplished cultivator who wants to switch to the burning technique, which requires him to abandon his cultivation. If Xiao Yan had been concentrating on learning how to make poison since he was a child, with his understanding, he might have achieved a lot now. But now that he has learned so much knowledge about how to make medicines, it would be difficult. Xiao Yan took a few deep breaths of the fresh mountain air, smiled slightly and said, I have thought of some poison prescriptions and am going to try them. Tapping his fingers on the ring, Xiao Yan took out the medicine cauldron he used for refining medicine, as well as many medicinal materials and the magic core of a second-level poison attribute monster. Seeing Xiao Yan's attitude of risking everything, Yao Lao's eyes became focused. This doesn't look like you are just trying it casually, doesn't it? Xiao Yan carefully arranged the medicinal materials. You have seen the way the little medical fairy absorbs poison now. Ordinary poisons can only help her practice at most. There were stars in the sky, gusts of cool wind gently caressing the earth, and the soft and white moonlight poured down, as if covering the valley with a thin veil. After a moment, Xiao Yan looked intently at the dark black ancient cauldron in front of him, stretched out a wisp of black and white flames with his fingers, and began to warm the medicine cauldron. This medicine cauldron is no longer the second-level dark red medicine cauldron that Xiao Yan originally used, but a fourth-level medicine cauldron with extraordinary quality. In the world of medicine refining, a good medicine cauldron is of great help to the medicine refining master. It can significantly increase the success rate when refining elixirs. Some low-quality medicinal cauldrons are not capable of withstanding heat, which may cause the furnace to explode suddenly when refining elixirs. Therefore, medicine cauldrons are also divided into quite fine levels, from the first to the 8th level, from low to high, and above the 8th level, there are things on the heavenly cauldron list. After the medicine cauldron was warmed up, Xiao Yan methodically delivered the medicinal materials into the medicine cauldron. There is a big difference between refining poison and refining elixir. Pills are meant to heal injuries, enhance cultivation, and other things that are beneficial to people. Except for a few pills that are in the form of liquids, pastes, etc., most pills are pills the size of longan, and they are exquisite in appearance and emit medicinal fragrance. Extremely tempting. However, poison is mostly something that can harm people by sneak attack, so it is mostly in the form of powder or liquid, and the powerful ones can even be colorless and odorless. Xiao Yan used the colorful poison codex as his foundation, and the poisons he studied ultimately appeared in the form of powder or liquid. Therefore, this method of refining medicine is obviously different from orthodox medicine refining. Looking at Xiao Yan's process of refining the medicine, Yao Lao nodded slightly. After all, it is the strange fire that he has condensed. Even now that it has grown, Xiao Yan is still using it like an arm. It's just. Yao Lao glanced at the dark medicine cauldron. It's just that this medicine cauldron is a little worse, only the 4th level. Yao Lao sighed and shook his head. However, there is nothing we can do about it. Even though Xiao Yan does not only sell blood coagulation powder and foundation-building spiritual liquid, but also occasionally refines some 4th-grade elixir qi gathering powder for Yafei to auction. The gold coins obtained were quite abundant, but Xiao Yan's overall consumption was too great. Thinking about the materials that enhance the power of strange fire, and the beast fire that Xiao Yan often swallows, not everyone in Zhongzhou can afford these things. In this remote Jiaoma Empire, being able to earn these things and still have enough money to upgrade the medicine cauldron, Xiao Yan is already very capable. the reason why Yao Lao sighed more was because the Jiama Empire was really remote and lacked resources. Even if Xiao Yan had twice as much money, it would not take him 3 to 5 months to find a good medicine cauldron. After less than half an hour, Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed, and his palms suddenly closed. The colorful liquid in the medicine cauldron merged into one body at a speed visible to the naked eye under the burning of black and white flames. Looking at the liquid that looked like boiled water, Yao Lao fluttered his wings and flew to Xiao Yan's shoulder. Is this the poison you refined? Why does it look ordinary? Xiao Yan poured all the venom into the jade bottle and carefully capped it with the jade stopper. Generally speaking, no one would take poison on their own initiative. If it is made in colorful colors and people think it is poisonous, wouldn't the poison become a decoration? My poisonous water is colorless and odorless, and because the materials used include the magic core of the second-level jade phosphorus python, hundreds of years of thunder god's vine and other rare medicinal materials, the toxicity is extremely strong. One drop can make the strong fighting spirit exploded and died. Xiao Yan solemnly introduced the power of this poison. Such a small bottle cost him a lot of money. So evil? Yao Lao didn't believe it. The strength of a Dou Ling level figure was not weak, and if you talk about that bottle, it might be about the same.